This is part 5 of my life story because it's so much easier than writing a book. I've already done that once and it was a lot. And I feel like it's just really important to share. So after the trailer accident, we end up moving from Houston to Stillwater, Oklahoma, which is just an interesting place. At the time, I don't know what it looks like now, but at the time, it was just like open grasslands. There wasn't much out there. But my mom and dad had converted to Christianity in the late 70s before I was born. And it was the Pentecostal breed. They were like holy rollers, I guess they'd call them like evangelical now. But at the time, they were Pentecostal, like really wild Pentecostal. And there's something happened at the church in California. And they had bonded, my mom especially had bonded with this family. And they were really sweet people, and I'm sure they still are. But they had some really wild religious beliefs. In my mind, and as I've told the story over the years, it was kind of like a matriarchal cult. Not because the people were bad, but because they didn't have access. This is pre-internet. They didn't have access to information and like to question beliefs. That's really come online since the internet, and thank goodness for that. But it was a very matriarchal ran. And so I had a grandma, Barbara, and she was like the matriarch of the family. And she was married off and on to Junior throughout my entire childhood. I think they divorced and remarried 3, 4, 5 times. I don't know, quite a few times. But she was incredibly strong, and she had quite a few kids that were in and out, and then all of her kids had kids. So my mom, Grandma Barbara was like my mom's mom, and then Grandma Barbara's kids were like my mom's siblings in a lot of ways. And so they lived out in Stillwater, Oklahoma. And we just didn't have much. It was out in the middle of nowhere, and Junior was working at a rock crusher, I believe. I don't know what they did. They probably just crushed rocks. But it was just way out in the middle of nowhere. And I didn't go to school. Homeschooling was still illegal at this time. And we were just completely off grid. My mom, I was the only child. My mom just loved me. My dad loved me. Everyone, they just adored me and did their best to take care of me and teach me whatever I needed to know. And there were a few memorable times while we lived in Oklahoma. Once, Mom and Grandma Barbara and I were driving home from the doctor's. Apparently my mom had took my grandma to the doctor, and we didn't have food. And there was a great big snapping turtle crossing the road, and they got out of the car, shoved a tire in its mouth, and then picked it up. And it was a great big turtle. Like, it was a big boy. I don't know if it was a boy, but they took it home and Junior cooked it. And I don't know if any of this is true, but I was told there were 7 different types of meat inside of the turtle, and it was really good. I remember sitting on the porch staring out over nothingness, just grassy plains, and eating turtle and giggling about turtle McNuggets because I never had McDonald's, but that's what they were calling them. And there was kind of a weird experience where Junior put the heart on the table, and I remember seeing it just kind of pump, and that was a little bit terrifying. But also, while we were there, there was a great big snake, water moccasin, that was under our trailer. And my dad took care of it, and we ate that too. So we just ate everything. My dad was just a hunter, and it was like, I don't know. It's a weird kind of foraging, but that's how we survived. So we ended up leaving there after a little bit. Oh, there was also a tornado there that I slept through. I slept through the entire tornado, and it actually destroyed the entire side of the street on the other side. And my friend he did not live through it. And that was really, really sad. That my mom would tell the story. She didn't know what to do. She'd never been in a tornado. And so she was running through the house, opening all the windows, this little teeny travel trailer, opening all the windows, closing all the windows, opening them, closing them. She was just frantic through it. And I slept through the entire tornado. And it didn't touch anything on our side of the street, but the entire other side was gone. And I believe that's what prompted the move back to California, because that was a lot. And it was a lot living with the family on that small property. Like there wasn't, well, I guess it was a big property, but a small house. And so my mom and dad, they decided we went back to California. And that was when I went to school for the first time. We were living back in Orville. And I went to the last quarter of second grade. And we lived in this little house behind someone else's house, and they had a couple sons. They were this really cool Filipino family, but they ate a lot of traditional food, and so we would all eat together, and that was fascinating. My mom, she would say that I cut my teeth on quesadillas. Like we'd been very natural, always been around people that were selling produce, picking produce, and I don't know, my mom had just such an interesting relationship. I was raised to not see color. And I think it's because we were just always generally the minority in the communities that we were in. And we just treated everyone the same. I've since, we'll get to that, understood racism and those things later. But there was a real sense of innocence in my childhood that we were all just people, and people came from different cultures. And we shared food, and we broke bread, and we did things together. And it was very interesting. We actually went out to the coast when we were in California with that same family and did some fishing, and we're getting China slippers, and that was part of what we ate. I just remember the China slippers and putting my fist in it, and they conform. It's like the original slime. So California was really a peaceful time. Lots of outdoorsy stuff. Lots of snagging salmon, lots of just making food, canning things, because life just seemed so simple in a lot of ways. We'd go to the river and we'd play in the quicksand. And my mom loved to play in quicksand. It was very funny of her. She was very neurodivergent. We were all just we're just quirky, we're different, and that is beautiful. And I'm really glad that she gave me those early years of self-acceptance and a strong woman and strong women around me, because that really laid the framework for later. But I didn't know how to recognize it most of my life, because there was so much trauma that came later in life that I couldn't see the beauty of the early years and the simplicity of the early years. That she gave me a great foundation. And my dad wasn't around a lot. He had a lot of just personal issues from his childhood, but I was his favorite person in the world, and he never touched me, he never abused me. In fact, in that house in California was the first time and only time he ever disciplined me. I kicked one of the boys in the crotch, and he sent me to my room, and it devastated me. I did not understand what I did, and he didn't know what to do, and that was the worst thing ever. My mom was much more of the disciplinarian. She was pretty brutal, but it didn't take a lot to set me straight. And so that it was just such an interesting, peaceful time. And right around when I was 9, we moved up to Oregon. And we were only in Oregon for less than a year when my dad was unalived. And so I guess the move to Oregon is what's up next. So we'll see you in the next round. Bye.